Good, good. Uh, say good. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. This is Adeyinka Olaiya. This is from Brazil. We thank the presence of Barrister DELE FAROTIMI, who has accepted to join us today and clear few doubts. Well, we are his fan in Brazil. We've been waiting for this opportunity to speak with Barrister DELE FAROTIMI, a lawyer, an author of a number of books, a motivational speaker, a political activist. Is somebody you will enjoy talking to, listening to. We've seen him in a number of interviews that we know how fantastic he is. I'm Adeyinka Olaiya. I welcome everybody, my colleagues in Brazil, Brazil Locon. So I think we need to come out now, but we have a lot of Nigerians in Brazil. Sir, you are welcome to this program, Adeyinka Olaiya channel. We're going to speak with Brazil. We thank you. We appreciate you for listening to us, for finding this just 1 hour to speak with us. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, you can say hello to Nigerians in Brazil before we move ahead, sir.
Let's just say good evening, everybody. I am grateful for the invitation, but a couple of quick words. One, I do not do fans. I expect that if we are meeting because we have a point of engagement, perhaps intellectually, but no fandom. I'm not a musician, and I'm not, so no fandom. This is about us talking to each other. That's one. Second thing is that I am not a motivational speaker.
Wow.
Motivational speakers might seek to convince the goat that it is a lion. I am not a motivational speaker. My purpose is to hold up a mirror for you to see. And in seeing the abject state that we are in, I am hoping that you might be persuaded to be moved into action. So it's about trying to get us to see ourselves in our sorry state and to get us to be sufficiently appalled by what we see to the point where we seek to change it. So there's nothing about motivation, all those motivational speaker thing. I don't do it.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, you said something now. Uh, let me just ask you the question I normally ask our guests. If I should ask you who is Barrister DELE FAROTIMI, I mean, if I should ask you, how would you describe yourself to just a normal person? I know you've been in
Well,
the media right now.
maybe if I am blessed to have sufficient consciousness just before I sleep finally, I might have sufficiently come to know myself to be able to say this is who DELE FAROTIMI is. All I can say in the moment is I'm just another man trying my best to answer the questions that life asks of me on a daily basis. I'm no better than the next man. I hope I'm not as worse as he is, but I'm no better than he is. I'm just trying to make
Yeah.
the best of every day. So to be saying that I'm this man or I'm that man, I try my best to tell the truth at all times. I try. There are times when you necessarily, of course, you're protecting people's emotions. You can't tell an ugly person they are ugly, at least not so bluntly. But basically, I just try my best to just live my life as honestly as I can without causing injury to anyone if I can avoid it. That's just it. Nothing more. I'm just another man.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. So to sincere with you, we're gonna touch the area of politics a bit because that's what we actually facing in Nigeria now. And we know the situation of Nigeria, how Nigeria is, and what we are facing in Nigeria, principally those of us in diaspora. So, if I should ask you, what is the situation of Nigeria now, and what do you think we in diaspora should think of, and what should we do now? How can we come in? And what do you think Nigeria is now? Because what we hear here is not what we want to hear.
Well, one of the first things that we must always try to do, if you're going to solve a problem, you must first of all understand the problem you're dealing with. Because once there is a misdiagnosis of the problem, the most likely thing is that you'll be treating it with the wrong medicine. Nigeria is not where it is by accident. It is where it is by design. The people who have snookered us into this space, because you know when you say somebody has been snookered, they didn't get us here overnight. We got here slowly over the course of time. So today, what you see is that we've been broken into so many pieces that when we are looking at our problems, instead of looking at them as Nigerians, we look at them fractionally. We look at them as Yorubas. We look at them as Igbos. We look at them as Fulanis. We look at them as Christians. We look at them as Muslims. But we rarely look at them as Nigerians because it is almost impossible to find the Nigerian. But all that is also because, unfortunately for the Nigerian, we are also not citizens. Those of you who live in sane environments like Brazil, at least relatively sane environments where the state accounts for the life of citizens, you understand the full meaning of the word citizenship. The Nigerian is not a citizen. So when you have this milieu, what you find very quickly is that it becomes almost impossible to speak to a common cause. So election is around the corner, and Nigerians are speaking in different tongues. We are not speaking to common purposes because we don't have the capacity. We've lost the capacity to identify our common interests. So when you now find these, you find very quickly that for those who can look beyond the veil and who can also see beyond the obvious, some of us understand very quickly that what we are dealing with is not, we are not in a democracy, even though we are about to perform one of the rituals of a democracy, election, but we are not a democracy. The law does not rule in our country. It is the will of men who can enforce their will either by sheer force of power or because they have financial muscle. In the midst of all of this, we now say we are about to have a presidential election. You now, as you know, elections, it's not even just presidential election, we have general elections. And then in the midst of all of these, you now have to factor in extreme religious tendencies who have moved into insurgencies, trying to take over vast parts of the country, Islamist insurgency. And then you go into the South, and you are seeing a country ravaged by several criminal gangs to whom the state itself pays ransom in order to be able to extract the mineral resources of the land. And then you go into the forest of the Southwest and you find bandits and Fulani marauders dotting the countrysides and making life hell for all those who live in those far-flung settlements. Then you go into, I believe, 33 out of 36 states. I'm sorry, I'm trying to paint you a
Yeah,
picture so
I'm
that
following
you
you,
will
sir. We're following
understand.
you, sir. I'm following you,
You
sir.
find that we're underwater. You go to the southeast, you find the secessionist fever because of the marginalization that have become institutionalized in that part. So you are looking at a country that is already functionally at war with itself. Now, we have now been told that there is an election next year. In that election, we have to make choices. And as far as I'm concerned, we're confronted with three, if we are to be truthful with ourselves. You've got Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you've got Abubakar Atiku, and you've got Peter Obi. Those are the three choices before all of us. Now, faced with these choices, you are going to have to pick one. For me, Atiku Abubakar should not even be anywhere near the picture. It shouldn't be found there. We just had 8 years, or we would have had 8 years of a Fulani Muslim. So there is no basis for anyone to even be thinking that another Fulani Muslim should come and succeed one Fulani Muslim in the face of the fact that we are a country that would never have been formed if an agreement had not been reached back in 1954 at the instigation of Ahmadu Bello, that in appointments, federal character would always be the consideration, principal consideration for federal appointments. So you now have a situation where a Fulani just left office and another one is queuing to take over that office. It does not make any sense. So as far as I'm concerned, it does not exist. The second person would then be Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm a Yoruba man, and I believe that, I don't know who else that sat in our meeting today, but I do recall that principally this was is meant to be a Yoruba thing. So let's talk to ourselves frankly. The first question, I grew up in Ibadan. The first question you'll be asked when you run into anybody, especially when you've misbehaved in any way, shape, or form, or you've come into contact with an older person. Tani baba omo tani wo, ibo lo ti wa. That's the first question you'll be asked. It's about identity. Who are you? That's the most basic of the questions that you might be asked as a man. Question I'm asking is, who is he? What's his name? Who is his father? What schools did he attend? Who is he? If my daughter brought home a man such as him, would I concede or give my consent to that marriage? Who is he? Any one of those who want to talk to me about queuing behind such a person should ask himself or herself if their daughters brought home a man with a matching record as the one for the man that they are pushing for the office of the president of Nigeria, would they consent to such a marriage? Would they? Yorùbá ní tó bá ń tọ̀yàn kí wọ́n má máa tanra ẹ̀. How the world sees us as a people is already bad enough. How much more when we now degrade ourselves to the point where we have a man of no known pedigree, a mongrel, as our ruler, our signature egg, our masthead is a man known to Western intelligence not to be who he says he is. And then we complain about being ostracized and treated like criminals when we travel abroad, when we would have successfully installed a criminal in office. So as far as I'm concerned, at a moral level, I find this person repugnant. That is one. Moral level. I'm no moral agent myself. Every one of us, but this is beyond a misdemeanor. We are talking about a fictitious character who does not exist in reality. So if other people want to fool themselves into closing their eyes to the fact of the questionable morality of the person, that's their own business. But for me, it is sufficient for me. The history will record.
Wow.
Wasn't part of it. And I made my position clear. That's one. The second thing is the question of equity. A Yoruba man had been president for 8 years, 1999 to 2007. That was on the basis of an agreement for a rotational president zoning arrangement. And it started with us in the South. It came to the South and it started with the Southwest. We spent 8 years. This next time it came to the South, it was Jonathan. He spent 5 years altogether because he spent only a year plus left and some days of Jaradua zone, and then he spent a tenure in his own right. Now he is arguing for zoning after the Fulani president. It is being zoned back to the South. Equity demands that it should go to that zone in the South that has not had it. That is equity. Now, I am a proud Yoruba man. The people who raised me were already in their 70s when I was handed over to them. Yoruba. The first thing Yorubas will ask of you, what does chobojumu mean? It simply means, is it right? Is it equitable? Is it just? These are questions that we should ask ourselves. We live in a country that was founded not with our consent as citizens, but with ethnic nationalities forced together and coupled together into a union. And then we agreed after the last combustion in 1993 that when we come back together, we'll do it by zoning. Why should we allow somebody to now claim what does not belong to us in the name of the whole? So it's Yoruba Lokon, when we know it's not Yoruba Lokon. So as far as I'm concerned, my position is clear. We are not in a perfect situation. There is hardly any perfection to be found in Nigeria, but we are at a point where we have to choose. We have 3 choices. I have made my own choice. I have only 1 vote. But history will record that in making my decision, I allowed equity, I allowed justice, I allowed good conscience to guide my choice. And my choice is Peter Obi. So to answer your question, I shall be voting by the grace of God if God preserves all of us, and I shall be campaigning as I am already, and I'm voting for Peter Obi. I hope I have answered
you. Sir, you have done more than answering me.
Good.
A lot of questions are coming in here for you, sir. And
fire away.
Yeah, before I go ahead, as we normally do here, they also greet you too. We can see Dr. Alex Coleman Apunike. It says, congratulations, Barrister DELE. He said would like to participate. You can ask your questions. Somebody is asking you to tell them on show my Bonaventure. So tell them, Now the question from Mr. Musba, who is declared ratified in Brazil, the leader of Ashiwaju team in Brazil. He said, my first question is, we welcome him to this forum here in Brazil. We thank you. Then he said you said that you are going to depart from Nigeria if he is an assumed ratified how do you say it, Ashiwaju campaign team leader in Brazil. He said you will depart from Brazil if Ashiwaju eventually wins. I think he's ready to make good. I don't know if you are ready to make your promises if Ashiwaju eventually wins.
Let
What
me
position? That's just.
Let me quickly answer that question, because I think there is a bit of misunderstanding attending that declaration. So it's important that I clarify it. What I have said is that if Bola Ahmed Tinubu should win the election in 2023, hi, Oladele Lola Farotimi, I will leave before they swear him in. I would have left Nigeria. That was what I said. But let me now clarify. It is not out of any fear of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have zero fear of him. He can't do jack to me. But the people that would have elected such a human being, if such a despicable person might be elevated to the height of presidential office by a people, not that he forced himself in, not that he rigged, but he is somehow elected by the people. They decided that that is the person deserving of the presidency of Nigeria. It's not because of Bola Tinubu that I will be living. It's because of the kind of people that I would have found myself coexisting with in the country. Because it would then mean that I am living with people that should be avoided. How? What kind of people elect such a man as their head? So the election would be telling me more about the people, not about him. I know enough about him. It's the people themselves who would have elected such a person. They are the ones I will be running away from. So I'm not taking my word back. Let my brother, I have my own name for bad people, but let me not call them that name on your show. But let him be clear. Mi ò kọ́rọ̀ mi jẹ́ o. Mi ò kó jẹ àìtódòótọ́ sí là ń ní kó lú ẹrí kó fọ́ bojú afẹ́ tọ̀ tó bá tó dòótọ́ sí wàá yọ pọ́rọ̀ ẹ tó lú ẹrí bá gbé ojú sílẹ̀ wàá tọ̀ lé lórí ni n tí máa ṣe ni mo sọ I will leave not because of Bola Tinubu but because of the people who would have considered that person to be the one worthy of the presidency of that country. I will not coexist in that country with them. I'll leave.
Sir, you've been talking of Bola Tinubu. You've disqualified him as a candidate. You are not even seeing any good thing from him. You have disqualified his background.
No. Let's be careful about subjectivizing the truth. Something is either the truth or it is not the truth. I have no hatred for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's not about hatred, but I have a lot of hatred for evil. I have aversion, serious, deep revulsion for evil. So when I see a person that I know to be evil, I am not going to deodorize him on account of the fact that he's from my ethnic group or because we worship God in the same manner. No, I have not, unless I have said something that is not factual. Then you can't say I haven't said anything good about him. If there is nothing good about him, am I going to manufacture something good about him? Tell me, you can tell me, and then I'll tell you whether you are lying or not. Everything that I have said, which one of them is the lie? Who is his father? Who is his mother? Who is his father's father's father? What schools did he attend? What business did he have with drugs?
Sir, but
23 years, sorry?
But I think the Chicago University confirmed him as...
and which primary school and secondary school? Is it the St. Paul Aro lawyer that does not exist or the government college Ibadan where they don't have any record of his attendance? Which one of the schools? So we can jump and skip 20 years and go to Chicago University. Where was he? Is it Jesus Christ that disappeared until he was 12 years old?
Oh my God. Wow.
So let's be clear about this thing. Unless you are the one who is actually drawing attention to these negatives by having us talk about it. We can move beyond this person once we don't have any argument as
but we have Atiku too. Now,
no,
let's talk
I
a bit
have
about
already
Atiku.
said to you in opening, I've already explained to you that as far as I'm concerned, Atiku is not a candidate. That Atiku is even running is an insult to the collective intelligence of Nigerians. This man is a wanted felon in America. Can you even see the quality or lack of quality of the human beings who are even preposterous enough to imagine that they can rule the most populous black country in the world? This is a man who is wanted. He's an indicted felon. His co-accused already spent time in jail. And he's still coming out. That is aside from the fact that he's another Fulani after another Fulani. So you see, when you ask me to come, I've sat down in my own little space and I've looked at all three of them. I'm not, Peter Obi is no angel.
Sir, but why is Peter, sir, why is Peter Obi qualified? Why do you think Peter Obi can mend Nigeria?
You see, when you ask the question that way, you are suggesting that I am the one who brought out Peter Obi to come and run. I'm telling you that me and you were presented with three choices. Three. You don't have any choice outside of those three. Three. You have Tinubu, you have Atiku, you have Peter Obi. Those are your three choices. It's not what DELE FAROTIMI wants. You have not seen me coming out to support any candidate before now. Did you see me? I've never been a politician now. But this is where we are. We have three choices. Three. And out of those three, I am saying to you that there is no way that I can even look at those Siamese twins, Tinubu and Atiku. They are the same. I can't look at them. They are yesterday, our sorry past. Those two represent the profligate years, the years of waste, wanton looting, stealing, mindless, myopic waste and squandering of resources. No capacity to plan for tomorrow. Squander everything today, chop it, eat it. That was yesterday. Now, that's the two of them. The persons who will vote for Atiku will also vote for Tinubu. So the two of them are the same. The difference with Peter Obi is simple. The man, unlike anyone that has ever run any state in this country, including the fabled financial magician in Lagos, the man actually was prudent enough to think of saving.
Wow.
He wasn't squandering everything. He saved. Those of you who are Christians will understand this. It says a vision is for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it. Write it down. Make it plain. That those who read it might run with it. That suggests that the person that is saving has a vision for what he is saving. Institutionally, he was saving money. Institutionally, he was saving money. That is unheard of in Nigerian political economic history. They don't do it. What's going on, sir?
At least here is mine. Okay, I think it's over. Let's move on.
Okay, so what you have is a situation where something that does not usually happen suddenly started to happen. A man begins to save money, prioritize the people sufficiently to the point where he left savings behind when he left his office. That is an unusual Nigerian ruler. It's not the norm in our country. That, of course, brought him to my own attention years back. But in this situation where there are only three, it was easy for me to look at him again. So on that score alone, that this man is different. It was said of Caleb, he said, this one carried a different spirit. He is different from them. That was one. Second thing, aside from the fact that these two are not even in my contemplation, what I find most important as a policy issue in the coming election is restructuring. I am a member of Afenifere, and by extension, I am a member of the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, a delegate on Afenifere's behalf to that body. And in that body, since about 3 years ago, a decision was taken that we would press for zoning to come back to the south, because we could see the games being played that another Fulani was already jostling to succeed the one. And we realized that Nigeria was already being Fulanized and Islamized. So we were concerned. So we were already sitting down, looking at our lot and our situation. And interestingly, at the time, it dovetailed into the Southern Governors meeting, and they had their own meeting where they also said power must come back to the South. So you had a situation where we had already taken a decision at that level that we will support a Southern president. We then went further. We said we will support a Southeastern president, an Igbo, because of the obvious situation with the inequities and injustice and the marginalization of the Southeast. And then a person like Peter Obi emerged. Not only is he from the Southeast, he is the best amongst the three. So it's not about, do I think he has a magic wand to solve the problems? No, but it's a start. He's interested in restructuring. He's interested in changing our mindset from this mindless consumption of everything to, for once, if let's look at ourselves and play to our comparative advantages and strengths. There is somebody willing to look beyond, let's just carry it, share it, spend it, share it, spend it. Why can't we try that for once? It's not as if there is somebody else out of the three that is likely to offer a different path. Tinubu is not about to change from who he's been. He's had 23 years in Lagos. What has he done with it? Even he can't find a hospital to use in Lagos. He has to go to London every time he has a catarrh after 23 years.
Oh, my good God.
The fourth largest economy in Africa still goes, the person who has ruled it for 23 years still has to go to London, goes to France. Not a single hospital is capable of treating him in Lagos, even if he has to fly in the personnel. So in that situation, my choices are between the three. I wasn't promoting Obi's candidacy until he liked the candidate. If the candidate is the three, I will make my choice.
My God. The kind of noise. So there is a greeting here. So we have a lot of greeting, a lot of this is Professor Joshua from the University of Sao Paulo here. So thanks for coming to enlighten us. My question is, since performance depends on constitution, how do you think Obi is going to work with the 1999 constitution?
Can I suggest something? If the noise is from your own hand, can you mute yourself whilst I'm responding? You can hear me,
Sir?
but I will not have to be dealing with that noise.
Well, I think it's from the. I think it's okay now. Okay. Let me play there again.
Let me say this. As I've sought to establish, we have three choices. Out of these three, Mr. Peter Obi has made clear the extent of restructuring. You can mute yourself so that we are not getting the feedback on the line.
Yeah. I think is the. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute, sir. Sorry, sir. It's at the top of my permit here.
Okay, so what I'm trying to explain is this. Peter Obi does not have a magic wand. There is nothing he can do, whether he likes it or not. That constitution is what he will meet when he gets into office. But what we must note is this. The man has made clear that he intends to bring the powers of the office of the presidency to bear on the subject of restructuring, which means that he himself has clear ideas as to what needs to be done with the structures of Nigeria. So he has spoken about federalizing the police, which means that you are going to have multiple levels of policing. You are now going to have state police. He has already talked about liberalization of the power sector, which has already started even under this administration. The man is already talking about liberalizing the land right laws to the point where states who already control the land can also legislate to the point where they can allow people to take out the economic value of their land. This thing is actually quite distracting, if the truth be told.
It's tough here today.
But can't you silence your own mic so that we don't hear that noise?
Okay. Let me do it that way. Let me do it that way. Okay. Wow. Okay, I think we can.
Okay, so anyway, the key thing is that the man has already made clear that he is interested in restructuring the country, but whatever else he may or may not do, he has to take a bill before that same moribund National Assembly. So it's not just about the president's willingness to change it. We cannot stop our demand that the constitution be either changed or amended to reflect our will. So if we manage to elect a president who is interested in changing the system, it means that even if the National Assembly is uninterested in changing the system, but the president is determined to change that system, the president can then leverage on the public opinion, which is demanding a change, to enforce the will of the people, which is represented by his own election. So electing a man that the system does not even want in the first place is the first act of citizenship that we need to take if we must get our desired changes. Neither Atiku nor Tinubu, whose deputy has already told us restructuring my put, is going to touch that constitution because it serves their own purposes. But Atiku Obi has committed already to changing it, but he can't do it on his own. So let me know, I'm reiterating that part so that it will not be like I'm promising something the man he can't unilaterally change it. He might also not have a mandate in the National Assembly, so we will still need to be there demanding that change if it's ever going to happen. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. And so I just want to talk a bit of Atiku too, a little bit of Atiku, because you've it's like you say Tinubu and Atiku, they are twin brothers, and there's
They are
no
Siamese
difference.
twins, twin horsemen
Yeah,
of
but
the
just
African
say something about Atiku. Who is Atiku? I recently I spoke with Chief Dele Momodu, and he said Atiku is the answer to what is happening in Nigeria. Yeah, I spoke with him. He received a number of journalists, and we asked him the same question. So say something about Atiku. Dele Momodu, Melaye, and recently Obaseki said same thing of Atiku. And say something about Atiku too. Do you think Atiku can
You see, my grandmother used to tell me when I was growing up, she would say, Ládélé, Ládélé, bó bá ní nǹkan rí sọ ń pe èèyàn má wulẹ̀ sọ nǹkan kan, má wí nǹkan kan. When you have nothing good to say about a man sometimes, it is advisable to simply let him be. Wọ́n ní bàbá sọ̀rọ̀ débi ìrò, ó bá ìtọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀pọ̀lọ́, ó ní bàbá ìsọ̀rọ̀ débi ìrò ká fò ó. Atiku, is a man whose records are in the public space. He's been in the public space. He has run in practically every presidential election since 1993. The man is well in his 70s. Let's deal specifically with competence. I am going to be 55 my next birthday. I know how difficult it is for me to get out of my bed in the morning. A man has been chasing power without morality or conscience for the last 30 years. Just a few months shy of 30 years. He has been a factor in every presidential election. Like, seriously? In a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country, a Fulani man, in a country where the worst excesses of the Fulanis have been displayed to everyone else. A Fulani man will leave office and then another one will come. There is nothing about Atiku. Okay, so what is he promising? What? He will unify the country. He can't even unify PDP. The PDP is fractionalized into God knows how many. But he wants to unite Nigeria. Unite it behind what? Living in Dubai, we should all move to Dubai. Or we should, to do what? Exactly what is, so see, I really don't know how to evaluate zero. There is nothing to evaluate as far as I'm concerned. Tinubu, one is forced to deal with him because of the direct impact his actions have on one's life because one lives in Lagos. But Atiku, in reality, beyond his perennial quest for power, what has he done? Nothing. He was vice president. He built his own university. His oga did the bells. He did ABTU. All of them have built private estates instead of building a country. And then at 70 something, almost 80, old men will dream dreams. Young men will see visions. These are old men who should be sleeping in their houses now. We insult ourselves by continuing to contemplate these people and treating them as though they are serious candidates. In fact, we should have a sense of revulsion that this kind of men are coming. This is a wanted felon. I didn't say that. His boss said so. And he knows it himself. Jefferson went to jail. Why must we always pick the worst of us to represent us? Please, I have nothing further to say on Atiku. I think God beg you. There is nothing there. Nothing. Mr. Dele Momodu is paid to say what he says. He's a journalist, an image manager. So he can say those things. But even he knows in his heart of hearts, how do you justify 8 years of a Fulani and then another Fulani is coming again and he's saying he's the unifier? What is he unifying? I beg.
Wow. And I don't know. I'm having a big problem with my neighbor here and the noise. Just let me see.
What you can do is what I've suggested to you. I saw somebody else posting that comment. When you've asked your question, mute your own mic.
So I'm just a little bit I'm a bit I don't know what to ask you again because the manner. Are you with me, sir?
I'm hearing you.
Let me see. I think wow. Let me see. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. Well, I actually don't know what to ask you again. The way you have classified I don't know, you have described the two candidates, and I don't know if I should go by the right, if I should go by the left. But there's a good question here for you. uh, Zikam Dimundu. He said, do you need to control the nation's assembly legitimacy? Oh, I can't read this thing properly before you. I think there's a problem of I think Mr. Musiba Alhaji Musiba is asking that it will Obi not face a problem in the house. You know, the house is Badabi Amila and
You
you
see,
know that
I
even
think
if he becomes president,
Mr. Musbel is the batified
he's the
Brazilian
ratified
rally.
leader in Brazil. You know, so he's
Yeah, well, tell him that he's presuming that the Gbajabia Millers of this world will be re-elected. Those are his presumptions. The election into the National Assembly holds on the same day as the presidential election. Let him first of all remember that. Now, if by any stretch of the imagination, what they do not believe possible becomes a reality, and Peter Obi somehow manages to eke out a victory, why is it then beyond the realm of imagination that those who have been elected into the National Assembly are equally reflective of that desire for change? Why do they think it's possible that Peter Obi will be elected, but those sympathetic to Peter Obi's mandate would not be elected? Why would the people of Surulere vote for Peter Obi and then send Gbadjabi Amila back to the National Assembly? All these are permutations that nobody knows anything about yet. And then I'll remind them, in Peter Obi's first term as governor of Anambra State, it was a PDP-dominated House of Assembly. It impeached him, but the judiciary reinstated him. And he went back to work with that same PDP-dominated House. So all these are permutations that are still, as we say in law, they are in futuram. When we get to those bridges, we will cross them. Unless we are saying that the legislators will be working against the will of the Nigerian people. But until then, fact is, nobody knows what will happen with the National Assembly yet.
sir, a question came from, and this question I think is quite important too. You know, we should from Dr. Les Coleman. Uh, he asked this question before. I think I'm just asking the question now. He mentioned the judicial insecurity, the problem with the judiciary in Nigeria. The government of Nigeria practically don't respect the law. We know that quite right. I'm sorry I have to say that. I'm not supporting any candidate. I'm Adeyinka Olaiya. I'm doing the work of a communicator. I'm not campaigning for anybody. I'm not campaigning for Tinubu, Obi, or anybody. I'm just doing my own work. But I'll be firm, I'll be sincere, and I'll go straight to the point. The government of my country, Nigeria, don't respect the law, don't respect the judiciary. And we know, I will say it, even dying, I will say it. Don't respect the law. That's a fact. Now, sir, uh, Nnamdi Kanu has been released, was discharged and acquitted. You know, I don't know. The minister of I don't know if it's the minister of justice, attorney general. You are a lawyer, sir. You are a lawyer, and I think you should be able to tell me more about that. He was I don't know. We say in Portuguese, entre aspas. I don't know if he was arrested or if he was kidnapped from somebody else's country to Nigeria, and he has been asked to be set free. The minister of attorney
Let me
general, I
save
don't know
you.
how it's in
Let
Nigeria.
me save you some trouble. Let me save you
Sir.
some. You're dealing with a country where the law does not rule. When we were starting out our discourse, I remember saying to you that the Nigerian is not a citizen. That was one of the first things I said to you. When I said the Nigerian is not a citizen and that you don't have, you can't say who a Nigerian citizen is because there are no laws in Nigeria. It sounded outlandish, but that is what has created a situation where the law does not rule in Nigeria. In the place of law, what rules in Nigeria is the will of men. So the law court can make a pronouncement, and the Attorney General of the Federation will be reinterpreting what the court of law has said. Even the court of law itself is not the court of justice. It is simply the court of law. We don't pay attention to some of these nomenclature, but it is important that we pay the attention to them. If it is the court of justice, then the interest of the citizen must always be uppermost. But that is not the case. The case is that the state constantly places his hand on the scale of justice so that his own will prevails, not the will of the court or the rule of the law. I trained as a lawyer, but I gave it up. I gave it up because every time I stood in front of a judge in Nigeria, I don't know whether I'm going to have any legitimate expectation of justice. There is no justice to be found in our court. So all that one about the court, I've said, just understand that as long as Malami and his principal desire to keep Nnamdi Kanu, they will continue to keep him. That's the unfortunate reality. The man was actually quite nice when he called Nigeria a zoo. It's not a zoo. You are in a country that has zoological gardens. Where have you seen any zoo that is as badly run as Nigeria is run? So, sorry. Nigeria is not a zoo. And it's not a jungle either. What do we do?
I think they don't even want you to today has been quite
Are you sure it's
interesting.
not Mr. Bashiru, that batified man that has brought
The batified Mr. Musibao? That
Mr.
is
Musiba Arowo you?
Mr. Musibao, we are seeing what they're doing here. That's
We
what he's
have seen
saying.
the work of your hand, do.
Uh, very strange today.
Wow.
This noise here. Sir, thank you very much for coming to our program here. And
It's a
in
pleasure.
fact, you've been able to enlighten the Nigerians in Brazil. And I don't even know what question to ask you because you've
Thank you.
I don't know. You don't
Can
know.
call it a night. Finally.
I can't even say. But we have Igboho, we have Kanu, we have Professor Akintoye, and we have these separatist fighters, and say something about them. Do you believe in their philosophy?
Look, I do not prescribe to the oppressed how we should fight his oppressor. We don't all have to agree to fight in the same way. There are several roads that goes to the market. I happen to believe that the easiest way to free my people is to have in place a president and elected people who believe in the devolution of power and restructuring. That is my own path. But I have no problem with the likes of Sunday Igboho or Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who have decided that they want a quicker route, quote and unquote, which is not the same as my own. I am not going to prescribe to them how they should break the chains of oppression. But that is not my own path. but I have no problem with their path. That's their own elected way. It's like me saying that because I'm a Christian, another person cannot be a Muslim. That's the person's choice. I have no problem with the choices they have made. I actually believe that they are justified in their reading of the position. They are completely correct insofar as it relates to the irredeemable nature of this Nigeria. I also believe that they are within their rights to determine how they believe they can get out of the mess that Nigeria is. That is their prerogative. You do not beat a child and demand that the child must not cry. Sunday Igboho, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and all those who have elected to take the secessionist route are within their rights. I don't support violence, but the Nigerian state itself is even more violent than those it has forced into violence. So for me, it's not my path, but I do not condemn those who have taken that path.
So you don't believe in Yoruba nation?
I haven't said that. What I'm explaining is this. If I'm seeking Yoruba nation, I believe I can get Yoruba nation if I have somebody in power who allows devolution of power, who allows for the right of self-determination, that is, spearheads the restructuring of the country in a manner that devolves power back to the regions and allows the citizens to take decisions as to how they wish to be governed. I'm all for that. But somebody telling me that the United Nations will somehow intervene in our internal affairs to now decree into existence a country out of Nigeria called Oodua Republic, I believe that is fraudulent. There is nowhere in the world where the United Nations had gotten involved in the internal affairs of a member state pre-war. It might be after a war, and that I believe had happened only in southern Sudan. And I think the Serbian republics. But those were things that happened after a war. If you are talking about referendum, the Nigerian fraudulent constitution of 1999 does not have a provision for referendum. You have not elected National Assembly members who will demand referendum. Not even a single governor of any state in Yoruba land is demanding referendum. So how are you going to get it? So it is the steps that I disagree with. But as I have said, those who believe in it, who believe that that path will land them Yoruba nation, I have no condemnation for them, but it's an empirical argument. The path you have set before yourself, would it take you to the desired destination? Tí n bá ń lọ sí Ẹdẹ, tí mo dorí kọ ọ̀nà Ìbàdàn, n bá rìn látèní di ọ̀túnla mẹ́wàá, mi ò ní dé Ẹdẹ tí n bá fèsì ọ̀nà Ẹdẹ. The path they have set forward does not take them
And
to that place.
unfortunately for you, this same Alhaji Musba is from Ede. Can you imagine? Oh, this is interesting. But you said something now that you are not against the Yoruba nation.
Of
That
course not.
you don't support the
Look,
way.
I'm a member of Afenifere. Yoruba nation is at the core of Afenifere. Is at the core. Yoruba nation is not something anthemic to our own position. What we've always said is that galvanize the people for restructuring, and when that fails, have a fallback position. And the fallback position of Afenifere since 1950, I think 54, had been Yoruba nation. So it's not that somebody is coming to teach us Yoruba nation today. It's about us failing to have, us as a collective, as a people, failing to evolve clear strategy for the attainment or achievement of that goal. So all these noises that people are making, you go to United Nations, how many places in the world has this happened? So it's about conceptual disagreements about methodologies. It's not disagreement with the principle. It's about methodologies per se and strategies. We might disagree on those ones and agree on strategic objective. And I think that's where the disagreement is between myself, or I can't speak for any other person, myself and the secessionists. Our disagreement is about
Okay.
methodologies.
Let's put that aside now. Before we go, I won't take much of your time as we actually agreed on. Sir, we've never had a free and fair election in Nigeria. I would say that. And
You're completely correct.
yeah, this time around,
1993 being the exception.
yes, this time around, do you think we're going to have a free and fair election? There won't be room for rigging? And do you believe that if Mr. Peter Obi eventually win the election, INEC, the government of Nigeria, will swear him in?
If anybody comes on your show and answers any one of those your questions one way or the other, the person is a fraud.
Wow.
Whether the election will be free and fair is not in my hand. The only thing we can do is to play our own part. And what's our part? We will vote. That's the part that we have as citizens. We vote. And after we might have voted, we'll guide our vote. The new Electoral Act is very specific as to the procedures for election.
Your your mic went off. No, your mic went off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
The new Electoral Act has given sufficient basis for a free and fair election if INEC would do his job without cheating. But they are
Without
Nigerian.
cheating.
So which means that the fact that they are Nigerian predisposes them to doing what we have always done, which is to mess up everything that could be good for us. So I can't say that INEC would do what it is meant to do. However, if INEC should play by the rules, it means that unlike when they used to go and collate results at wards and local government level, and then thugs will come, snatch ballot boxes, stuff the boxes, change the result, that is no longer the case, because under the new Electoral Act, election results are to be transmitted from the polling unit. The question of vote buying has also been minimized or eradicated by the new act. It says that you cannot take a phone into the voting booth, which means that you cannot record who you voted for so that you validate the purchase of your vote. It also says that there must be complete privacy where the person is voting from. So he can't show his ballot to let the party agent see that, see, oh, I voted for you, so that he can go and collect his money after voting. So if you manage to eliminate or reduce significantly the incidence of vote buying, if you also manage to adhere strictly by the provisions of the law and votes are transmitted from the polling unit, it then means that significantly there should be an improvement. The third element is that for the first time in a while, number one, you have as many as 8 months for the campaigns. It has never happened. We usually have only about 3-4 months before elections, between the emergence of candidates and elections. It's usually about 3-4 months. This time around, we've had a total of 8 months given to us. So it means that there is enough time to scrutinize the candidate, and there is enough time to galvanize the citizenry. Last election, you had a total of 27 million people voting out of a voting population of 81 million. So that meant only a third of the electorate turned up. This time around, you have a total of 93 million registered voters. If you bring only 50 to the polling booth on election day, it will mean that you've more or less doubled the number in the last election. And the more people that participate in the process, the less the effect of any rigging. So I expect that with the people becoming involved, with all these INEC changes taking effect, we should have a relatively free and fair election. Relatively. But that's only a hope if INEC and the security agencies would allow it to happen.
Thank you, sir. But you have officially confirmed your as one of the campaign. You are in the team of Peter Obi's campaign, right, sir? I think.
Well, I am supposed to be a loudspeaker for the Peter Obi campaign. So when they tell me to shout ha, I shout ah. But I'm hoping that I would remain the person that I am. I'll speak my truth as best as I can. And when they are serving injustice at the table, I'll get up. For now, I'm only doing what I have always done. Whether I'm in his campaign or outside of his campaign, this is what I've always done. Just sought to find hope in a rather hopeless place and see if we can change this country for the better. That's just all.
Yes. Thank you very much. So share with us because recently since Obasanjo OBJ Baba embraced Peter Obi, he's been called a lot of names. In fact, now he's an Igbo man to many people. They call him the father was an Igbo man. That an Igbo man, now that it's clear to society that you also support Peter Obi Labour Party. What have you witnessed? Have you been called names and what have you been? Have you seen?
You guys in the diaspora, you might not have a true picture of what is going on in Lagos. The likes of Obasanjo might be easy to blackmail and give labels. He's a politician too, for all his what. And politicians routinely tell lies, and Obasanjo is a particularly gifted liar. So when they begin to label him and bring out all kinds of lies and slander for him as well, the man himself, you see, he will never respond. He won't respond to any of them. So that's as far as Obasanjo is concerned. But me, the only people the people I've had the biggest problems with have been my best friends. These are people I've fought with over the years, people I've stayed in trenches with. And these are people who expected me to have supported a different candidate, not a Milokan. So it's not a tribal thing with them. It's a different issue entirely. But other than that, no Yoruba person can look me in the eye and tell me that me, I'm an Omale Yoruba. I'll let the person understand that they are the real Omales who have no understanding of Yoruba culture. Ọmọ ò lè ṣèdí bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí nǹkan ní nǹkan tiwa lọmọ tiwa lè ṣèdí bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí.
Oh my God.
So I have not had anyone.
If you have to say this.
No, I've not had anyone come to me with that nonsense because it just won't fly. You come to me with it, I'll smack it down. I'll smack it down. You cannot shedibe bere to another person's patrimony. You shedibe bere to your own patrimony, not another person's own.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I must commend your Yoruba. I was always thinking only English, but your Yoruba is even winning. Thank you very much for.
Thank you very much
for this program. Mr. Musibao is greeting you. He's thanking you for coming to the program.
Tell him I thank
And
him, but that he has no right to be supporting those he ran away. He ran away from Nigeria from those ones. He cannot now sit in Brazil and be supporting the same people he ran away from. He should stop it. Or we'll start calling the god of deportation for all of you abroad who are supporting what you ran away from. Warn yourselves.
I think, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate. Please, when we call you again, please listen to us. Visit Brazil. We have thousands of Nigerians in Brazil.
Just make sure you gag your neighbor the next time.
Thank you very much. I will do
All
that.
right.
I think Mr. Musiba did that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of us. We thank you. We thank him so much. And I also thank Nigerians in Brazil. I'm sorry we had a little bit of, I think my neighbor this time around, though we still successfully conducted our program. We really appreciate the contribution of every Nigerian in Brazil who participated in this program. This is just the beginning of good things that we're going to start doing from Brazil. And I'm very sure that we are all having our opinion. I'm not a politician, and I shouldn't be tagged with any candidate. So any of my guests, they speak for themselves. They don't speak for me. Barrister DELE FAROTIMI spoke for himself. So let's hope we have more guests that will do one or two things at least for us to know what is happening in Nigeria. Thank you very much. I thank you all, my friends, my colleagues, my senior, my junior, my everybody in Brazil. I also thank uh, uh, those that have been supporting the program. I thank Dudua Temple dos Orishas that has been supporting the program. African Cultural Center are also with us. And Awumiki from Fortaleza also supporting the program. Those of you that are with us, I thank you. If you can also come around and support us, we will be very happy. This is a program for Brazil. This is the voice from Brazil. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody. It's Adeyinka Olaiya once again. Till we meet again. This is our own program from Brazil. Thank you very much. Olodumare bless you all. Thank you. Till next time.